All right, let's get started. So this is Body Mechanics 1. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, this week's just gonna be intro. We've got a good amount of stuff packed in here, so we'll get through that. Yeah, first of all, about me, I am currently at Disney, Walt Disney Animation Studios in Vancouver, working on Moana for Disney Plus, Moana sequel. Um, and yeah, previously I was at Sony. I worked on the Sea Beast and Across the Spider-Verse, and yeah, just been working in feature for the last like 4 or 5 years, and that's pretty much it. Uh, I usually like to kind of get to know you guys and just kind of want to know like well, just first of all your name and where you're calling in from, and then also your if you're currently like a student or working, and also kind of what you hope to gain from the class. And usually from everyone's answers, I kind of try and like tailor the class a bit so that everyone will be satisfied by the end. So I'm just gonna go by the list that's on my Zoom, but that'd be Cynthia first. Okay, we'll go to Noelson. Is it Noelson?
Yep. Hello, guys. I'm Noelson. I currently work at Squeeze Studio as a tech anime artist. And what I want to achieve with this course is I want to be like an animator full time, but I don't have quite the confidence to tackle some shots because of a lack of, I don't know how to say it, but knowledge on body mech. So yeah, I'd say I want to achieve like confidence.
Cool. Sounds good. Are you in Squeeze are you remote or that's in Quebec City, right?
We have a studio at Montreal and Quebec, and I'm currently working at the Quebec studio.
Cool.
It's been like 2 years.
Cool. All right, welcome. Cynthia, do you think your mic's fixed or should we skip? Okay. All right. If it doesn't work, you can just like type out your answer or something. Or we can just wait till next week. Whatever you'd rather prefer. Jin, next.
Hello. My name is Jin. I'm currently in South Korea. I've been working like remotely since COVID, mostly from Mexico or like currently on Australia at Cosmic Dino, working on some like indie feature films for the past 2 years. I'm trying to learn more about body mechanics since I have been very fond about acting and it's always been my passion. But I feel like that kind of went over rail that I kind of ignored some of the body mechanics, how important it is. Since like every time I look at something, I want to do that, but I'm like, how do I do that? I forgot. Since like maybe I should focus more on body mechanic from the start, get more knowledge on that. And as Noelson said, gain confidence from that.
Awesome. And good morning or whatever time it is. I'm sure it's like an ungodly hour.
No, it's 11:30.
Oh, okay, never mind. That's reasonable. I don't feel bad anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Camila? Do we have a Camila?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. We can't see you, which is fine, but
okay, I'm not very good speaking in English, but I will try.
That's okay.
Okay, my name is Camila. I'm from Colombia, and I have been working in the animation industry for 2 years. And I really hope to improve my expression through mechanics, through body mechanics. And that's all.
Cool. Sounds good. And Sergio?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm currently working at Insert Coin Animation Studios. We do web series, and what I want to gain about this course is get a good practice and good shots of body mechanics to improve my portfolio and to start making like the transition to junior, from junior to mid, and keep growing on the animation industry.
Cool. Sounds good. And Cynthia, do you want to type for next week? Like we'll go next week. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Cool. All right. Sounds good. I don't know. I closed the chat. Cool. So sounds like pretty much everyone's working, which is cool. So I can, tailor it. Wait, Cynthia, just a thumbs up if you're working or thumbs down if you're a student. Okay, student. Okay. So mostly working, one student. Cool. Then yeah, that's cool. And yeah, it sounds like everyone kind of has the same goal, which is just learn more about mechanics, which is good. Mechanics are hard. Yeah, well, let me just go on to the next slide here. Talk about the class. So yeah, the class, obviously, we're gonna be covering like lectures and demos and just looking at animation. We're gonna go over mechanics. We're gonna start like really from like the foundations. And yeah, like mechanics, I find you can just constantly revisit the foundations and you'll kind of, even the simplest things, the simplest like weight shift, there's you always kind of learn something new every time. So, even if you guys have like studied mechanics before or whatever, like I'm sure it's gonna be useful. Yeah, I'm constantly like still learning about mechanics. It's just really hard. So we'll try and break things down, work our way up, and yeah. Also going to be showcasing different types of workflow. We're going to be doing like mainly one shot as a demo throughout the course, but within the shot, I'm going to try and showcase like different, styles and ways of working. Just to get a variety, like some workflows work well for certain people and some work well for others. So yeah, just try and kind of showcase different ways I'd like to work. And yeah, so hopefully it'll help you guys. And then also we're just gonna like talk about animation. We're gonna look at shots. We're gonna like break it down, and hopefully we can all get inspired looking at some cool animation and improve and stuff. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the class. I would just say in general, like we're gonna be focusing on like a body mechanic shot that's like a character doing things specifically, but this kind of stuff can apply to like even if you're doing like an acting shot, and it's from like the chest up, still like understanding the mechanics and having like, even if you can't see it, like feeling weight shifts is like super important. So hopefully you guys can like apply this stuff to all your work and not just a shot that's like a guy running and very obviously like mechanics. Just having like mechanics in everything is really good. Okay, so does anyone have any questions, or I'm just gonna get into the lecture? I think probably, yeah, good. Okay. Okay, so yeah, again, I'm just gonna start from like really basics, and just like make sure we have like really solid foundation, kind of the rules of mechanics. So a lot of mechanics revolves around balance, and balance is everything. And what I mean by that, so in general, when you're moving, it means you are off balance. So and the best simplest example is a walk, which I'm just gonna get up. I'm gonna be getting up a lot during this class and like demonstrating. But basically, like So a walk, you know, is a controlled fall. So basically like to walk, you lean forward and you go off balance and you're actually falling and catching yourself with your feet, like right before, you know, you would lose too much balance. You're not actually like pushing yourself forward with your feet. I can try and extend my headphone cord a little bit. But yeah, you're not actually like pushing yourself forward. What you're doing is you're like leaning forward and then catching yourself on every step. And so that being off balance is what, you know, is propelling us forward there. And so and then so a very important concept around balance is your center of balance. So basically, if you draw a line from your clavicle area straight down to the ground, following gravity, not following like your character. So if I'm like tilted this way, it's still, you know, straight down to the ground, following gravity. That's kind of where you find a rough idea of the center of balance. And as a general rule, if it's over your feet, then you're balanced. And if it's not over your feet, then you're off balance. And I'm going to show some examples because you're probably not quite clear what that means. So if I have two people here, you know, I can draw a point at their clavicle, pull it down, and this is like, you know, right over his feet. So this guy is balanced. The guy on the right as well, you know, draw from the clavicle down. That's like he's got like a wider stance, and that center of balance is kind of dead between the feet. So these two people, you know, are balanced. The guy on the right definitely has more. He is more balanced because he has like a wider, you know, stance, but that doesn't really matter right now. The point is like they are still and they're not going to fall over because their center of gravity is over their feet. So now we can take a look. What happens if we take that center of balance and we start shifting it around? So you get something like this, where it's still over at least 1 foot, not both feet. But you know, if you start shifting that center of balance around, you know, in this case, then you start getting like the weight distributed between the feet in different ways. So in both these examples, the center of balance is predominantly over 1 foot. And so what that gives us is a lean, and you know, it means a lot of things. It means, you know, that the left leg in this case is bearing more weight, and eventually if you leaned far enough where your center of balance is only over 1 foot, I can get to the point where I can like lift this leg up independently because it's no longer bearing any weight, because my center of balance is over this foot. That's all that's balancing me, so this leg doesn't matter anymore. But if I'm trying to get far enough, but if it has my center of balance over both my feet and I lift this leg, I'm gonna fall over because both my feet are balancing me right now. So I can't lift my leg, I'm gonna fall over. Versus if I shift my balance over here, I can lift this leg freely and move it around because this leg is my center of balance. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's keep shifting that center of balance. You know what happens? So you get a walk. In this image, it's actually in between her feet, but in certain positions of a walk, it's not in between your feet. So I don't know, maybe let me pull up an image instead of trying to act this out. So if we do the whatever classic walk cycle. So in this image, it's still like if we draw it down, it's still, you know, favoring can you guys see my mouse and this image?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. If you draw it a line down here, it's still like more favoring the front. It's not fully in between the feet. But if we, take a look at the passing position, you can see it's fully in front of the foot. So, we're like fully off balance here. And that's and especially the up position, like this leg isn't on the ground, so it doesn't count. So we have our point of contact on the ground here. And if we draw a line, we're way off balance, So then we kind of catch ourselves and then we continue the walk. And we're kind of using that forward momentum from being off balance here. That's what carries us forward. But overall, a walk, the center of balance is generally like, forward, more forward. That's like if you animate a walk and your character's like upright, it looks weird because it doesn't make sense. They have to, be off balance to gain movement. And then a run, here you can really see like in this case both feet are off the ground, but the extreme position of a run is when like this toe is still on the ground. So you have a contact here, and then your center of balance is all the way over here. So a run, you're really off balance, you're really forward. And yeah, you can see like we draw the line down here, it's like pretty forward. Here it's like really forward. All right, and then even more extreme. If we look at a situation like this, it's interesting here because this guy is in control of his movement. So balance doesn't necessarily mean like you're in control. This guy's very much in control, but he's completely off balance. So like if you took this guy's position and just like threw him towards the ground, like he's not gonna catch himself. He's not gonna land properly. Because his center of balance is like totally off. He's gonna land on his face. Versus if you take the guy on the right, even though he's jumping, his feet are actually pretty close to his center of balance. So if I took these guys in both their poses and threw them down at the ground, I would trust the guy on the right to actually land properly because he's not very far off balance. So this guy on the left would presumably, swing his feet around and get more into a position like this before he landed on the ground. Anyways, all that to say is like this. So yeah, this guy is very much off balance, and yeah, he's flying through there. And yeah, that's pretty much this concept. So we'll be kind of talking about the center of balance for the class. So does that make sense? Okay. So weight shifts. A weight shift is generally when your center of balance moves. And that can happen as you show when you're standing. Like if I'm just standing, I can like, shift my center of balance between my feet. And I'm not moving, or like I am moving, but I'm not, going forward or jumping or doing like an action. I'm really just standing here. But my center of balance can still change. But it happens way more when you're moving around. So when I'm walking, this is kind of like a waddle. But a walk, your center of balance is changing a lot. It has to be over the foot that's on the ground. So it's constantly, going back and forth. This is really exaggerated, and especially running too. The center of balance. Well, actually, in a run, you're kind of just always off balance. So maybe that's not the best example, but when the more complex mechanics you're doing, the more weight shifts are happening, and the more complex it is. More on weight. So yeah, like weight is the concept of making our characters, even though they're these CG pixels, actually feeling like they are standing there, that they're affected by gravity, that they're using force to move around. And so yeah, the way we make our characters actually grounded in their worlds is by giving them weight. And so when we move them around, they have to abide by these rules of weight. And if you don't, then that's when you get them feeling like floaty and ungrounded and like weird CG, like whatever word you want to use. Yeah. So how do we give our character weight? So whenever your character is moving, try and think of these two things. So we can move by being off balance, or we can move by exerting force. And obviously the other way is like having a force exerted against you, like if someone throws you, but we're not going to talk about that right now. This is just for you, you're a character alone, with no forces acting on it. It's going to be either gravity, so being off balance, or exerting a force yourself. And so being off balance, like examples of this are like the walk. Again, we move forward by falling forward, catching ourselves. And this is just like a little side tangent. I didn't know where to put this in the slide, so I put it here. But this is a really important concept. When you're getting off balance, so like a walk is controlled off balance. I'm not just like falling over, and like it is falling over and catching yourself, but it's a controlled falling over. And like I said about the jumper, like being off balance doesn't mean you're out of control. It's kind of two separate ideas. So when I'm walking, it's not, yeah, I'm not just like falling backwards and like catching myself. It's very much controlling. I'm falling forward and I'm gonna catch myself. But to get off balance, you can't just lift your foot, because like I said, if I lift this foot, I'm gonna fall over, and not in the direction I want. I'm gonna fall sideways. So whenever your character is gonna lift their foot, you have to shift your balance to the other foot. So if I want to lift this leg up and not fall over, I have to shift my balance, my center of balance, to this leg. Then I can lift this foot up and I can step forward. This is really exaggerated, obviously not how we actually move, but it's that idea of like, I have to, before I move, I'm going to shift, and then I'm going to lift this foot up. And once my body weight is over this side, then I can lift this side up and move. So when you're walking, you have to shift, you always have to shift your weight, and not just walking, like any movement. If I'm gonna go like, well, I don't know, I guess walking, but like any movement, it just you have to shift your weight to the opposite leg before you lift it. The other way to move is by exerting force. So pushing or pulling, basically. So if I'm climbing, that's me pulling my body up with my hands. So you can be perfectly balanced while climbing. If I'm like rock climbing, or that's not an example because you have a rope on you, but like bouldering or whatever, if you're climbing something, if my center of balance can be perfectly balanced, but I can move because I'm pulling myself. Same thing with jumping. If I just jump like straight up, my center of balance is between my feet the whole time, but I'm still moving because I'm pushing against the ground. So, and then standing up for a chair, like if I'm gonna get up here, I can like push myself up. Again, I'm totally balanced, but I can still move because I'm exerting a force. And yeah, a lot of the time we have to use a mix of these two things to move around. Mix of being off balance and exerting force. So running is a mix of being off balance. So I'm very much forward, I'm like leaned forward and falling, but unlike the walk, I'm actually pushing as well. So a walk is not pushing yourself forward with your feet, really, like kind of is. It's mostly falling. A run is me falling forward, and then as I'm off balance, I push off the ground with my leg. So that's kind of two aspects here giving you the moment. It's falling forward and then pushing with your feet as you're off balance. And just a lot of movements in general are going to be a mix of like being off balance and exerting force in different ways. So as you move your character around, you need to be very conscious about how their weight is being moved, or else they will feel weightless. So yeah, like if you're animating a run, and let me pull up, I guess, an image. We're gonna go high tech here. We got paint. So sometimes if you're animating a run and you have this pose where the leg is bent, then on your next pose, sometimes people will, and I've done this as well. You're like splining, you don't really realize like you're not doing all your breakdowns, or you're not going on ones and like animating it. You'll get something like this where you go from this to this, and this will feel like floaty and weird, and you'll be confused because, I mean, I guess the better example is just like if you skip this pose, if you went right from here to here, it's gonna feel wrong, and you're gonna be confused because you're thinking, why? Like I have this pose, I have this pose, I'm following the Richard Williams animation guide, like this should work. But if you're thinking about the movement, what you're missing is the exerting of the force. So we have the being off balance, you know, here we draw the center of gravity down, center of balance, where, you know, we're off balance, we have forward momentum, but then it'll just feel like your character is like floating up into this, and it'll feel weird. And it's because you need to have, and sometimes I'll even draw it, but it'll be like, I'll draw the straight leg, and then you'll do this, but it's still off the ground. And that'll still feel weird because you actually need, before your character leaves the ground, they have to exert this force and push themselves. And so that's what I'm thinking about, like when I watch my animation, and I don't know why, but it feels like just the mechanics are not working. I really try and like frame through, and for every action movement they're doing, I'm like, okay, do they need to shift their weight? Do they need to push off? Like, how do they need to accomplish this movement? And because usually the answer is they're gaining energy somehow without doing anything. So like if I animate a walk and I just like, without the weight shift, I can kind of act it out, but it's hard. But like if they just start going forward, that usually feels weird. You need that very subtle like kind of weight shift, and I'll like really exaggerate, but it's like that and then around. If you don't have that, and like especially if you're like animating a walk front on, and they're just like there's no weight shift left to right, like the center of balance will be off. So I really just go through and think about these things of like, how are they getting around? And usually that'll help me troubleshoot, and I'll find something where it's like, oh, they just started moving forward and they didn't push off, or like, you know, they're fully balanced, but they need to be off balance here, or something. Like I'll usually, you know, kind of find it just by looking at these things. You don't need this. Oh, and cool examples. So yeah, if you had a jump, yeah, like if I was like here and I just like floated up without like doing anything, I obviously can't act that out. But like, you know, imagine I'm not squatting down and then I just went like up, like that's just gonna look weird. So you need that like bend down, and you need that push-up pose where your feet are straight, and then you can go off the ground, so you're actually like exerting that force. A walk, I kind of just act that out, like a walk with no weight shift. And a movement that requires being off balance with an upright torso. So if you're like kind of upright and you're running, you can kind of do it, but it's gonna look weird. You need at least a little bit of lean forward. And as a side note, the cartoonier the movement, the less strict the rules are. But you still need to keep it in mind because yeah, you still want your characters to feel grounded and balanced. But if you're doing something really cartoony, like, and they're just standing there, like if you lifted your leg and would fall over, so I'll step back a bit. But yeah, like in real life, if I lift this leg, I'm just gonna fall over. Like a cartoon character could totally just like lift this leg and like do whatever. If you're going like really cartoony, but it's still like you should still kind of keep a lot of these concepts in mind. But yeah, just a side note. Okay, I'm gonna pull up some examples. We can just talk about some shots, like kind of look at these things in like a real life application. And yeah, if anyone has any questions during any of this, just unmute and ask. If not, I'll just keep going. So let's pull up this. This is just, I just grabbed some like random stuff from like online and everything. This is just a pretty like standard, like pretty cool parkour. How's the play? Actually, I think I'm gonna, there's an option to make the playback a bit smoother. But I won't be able to see your guys' video. Can you see this?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I can't see anyone's video, so yeah, just unmute if anything, if anyone has questions. Cool. So yeah, is that playing pretty smooth? Is that like decent?
Looks good.
Yeah, I think kind of the same.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll make it a bit smaller. I don't know if that's, maybe that helps a bit. Anyways, we're just gonna be framing through, so it doesn't really matter. But cool. So like kind of framing through here, like some concepts. So here, this is kind of like the parkour image, like our center of balance is like totally off. And then as they land, we regain the center of balance. That allows us to land, which is cool. Oh, here's an interesting thing. So your center of balance doesn't necessarily have to be your feet. Like a lot of the time it is. But in this case, the line is like in front of the character's feet, which would normally be off balance, but because they have their hand as a point of contact, now the center of balance is in between these feet and hands. So this is actually like a perfectly balanced pose. It would probably drop like somewhere around here, which is in between all three of these. So this is, even though it's off, if you took that hand off, the character would fall over. But because that hand is actually a perfectly balanced pose. And then now I get that run. This run feels really strong because of, again, how much lean there is. The center of balance would fall probably about here. It's like really in front of the character. And then nice push off. We feel the, the exertion of force. There's like a straight in the body. And then again, this is actually kind of balanced because the center of gravity is between both the hands. So this is actually a balanced landing. This is cool. So like this character is gaining momentum like by exerting force. That's like flinging them forward. So when they land with their hands, they're barely moving forward. But as the legs kick through, they start going really far and sliding because they're, exerting a force. If they hadn't swung their legs through and just started like flying forward, that would not feel, correct. Yeah. So a lot of the same kind of concepts. This is like the pulling. And like for something like this, the hands have to like stay on. So something that could make this animation feel like floaty is if like as the character was like pulling themselves up, the hands already left the platform, because then it would feel like the character is just going up without exerting force. So those hands need to actually stay on there till you've pushed yourself up. So the hands, you can see the hands stay on until the feet basically get there actually. So yeah, and then the feet are pushing up. Center of balance is really off here, but we're holding on to the pole. But that's what gives it this feeling of leaning, is that our center of balance is way off. This is a cool pose. Let's look. This is a fun animation. I'm not gonna play with audio for now. The acting doesn't really matter, even though it's really good. So this is a good example of like, this is just acting. But the mechanics underneath it, even though the mechanics aren't the showcase of it, the mechanics are nice and it makes it feel good. So yeah, let's just break this down a little bit. So we're just kind of moving, like we're balanced. I'm just looking at like this hips area, we're all balanced in here, so you can kind of just move whatever, you can go up and down. That's whatever. So here we shift the weight, and something important as well is like the hips. I didn't really put this in the slides, but we can just talk about it. The hips, another way to give our characters weight is making sure that the hips kind of bear weight properly. So if I'm going to shift my weight, and you can really see this in the leaned examples, but you can see like a kind of good landmark is like this kind of bone. You can see there's like a tilt, because basically the gravity is kind of like sinking on this side and like pulling this leg down, and then this side is stable, so this side of the body kind of like drags. So when you're bearing weight, your hip is usually kind of further up on the side that's bearing weight. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Like as you're shifting weight, the hips, another thing that can make your mechanics feel wrong is if your hips are not moving, according to, and it goes for the chest as well. It kind of goes as well. But yeah, moving those hips, getting that to feel right. It's good. So yeah, the hips, you can see the hips are like pretty flat here. And then there's like a curve that like the hip kind of bears weight as the character comes down. So that feels nice. So now the character is going to walk forward. He can't lift this leg. So what's he going to do? He's going to weight shift to the right. Then he can lift this leg, and then he can step forward. So it's very simple, but it just feels good. If the animator had lifted this leg before the weight shift, it would have felt weird. Like that's another thing. Even if you do the weight shift, but you have the leg lifting at the same time and it's moving at the same time, it's going to feel weird. So it's very like precise, like weight shift, then lift leg, and there's also a lean forward in the body. So that's kind of propelling us forward. This is hard to see, but here we're balanced, we're upright, and the character leans forward. But if you just, I can't see my camera view, so I'm hoping you guys can, I'm hoping I'm showing enough. But if the character just did this, he would be off balance. So what he does is he actually goes back. That's a general thing when you're leaning forward, is that if you just lean forward like this, your center of balance gets too far forward and you'll fall over. So in this case, you have to pull the hips back so that your center of balance stays over your feet. And again, this is kind of, I was talking at the beginning of class, like this is off screen technically, but you can still feel it. And that's why this feels good, is because he shoots the hips back. And so you can't see his feet, but you can generally feel like his center of balance is over his feet. And then I think it's missing a bit of a weight shift here, so that's probably a bit of a cheat because it's off screen. But what we do have is the character leaning forward. So now he's off balance, and that propels him forward. And then once he like steps here, he shifts his weight back so he's balanced. And I think this is a little bit cheated. There would probably ideal, like if we wanted perfect mechanics, there should actually be a weight shift to the right again. And so that's why this movement, you can kind of feel it compared to the other parts of the animation. It feels a bit like he's just being kind of magically pulled forward by something. So you know, this is a case of like, if I was watching my animation and I was like, oh, this feels like a little off, like why? And I would be like, okay, well, he's off balance, so that's propelling him forward. But then it needs to feel like, okay, how is he getting up here? And it's like, well, he's off balance, which moves him forward, but he's going up, which means this screen left foot is going to be pushing him up. Okay, so this screen left foot has to come forward and push him up. That means that we have to weight shift it to the right so it can get off the ground. So you kind of go through the process and like kind of break down the movement, like why it should happen. So all that to say, there should be like a slight weight shift to the right before this, and then that would probably fix it. And yeah, and then the rest is just standing. This is like 144p. I don't know where I got this file. It was just had it saved, but I think this is like a nice animation. I'll just play it first. So it's like slightly cartoony, but there's actually a lot of nice mechanics. So even just like the way he comes in here, he lands, he leans forward, and then it's kind of a complex movement. Like he's like leaning forward and then pushing himself up, and then leaning back, kind of rocking into there. To lift his feet up, he has to kind of lean back. So this is like a kind of sitting down weight shift, but it's like a nice anticipation. Once he leans back and gets his weight off his foot, then he can lift it. This is like a total smear, so not really much mechanics here. But we'll see when he starts. So sorry, folks, shifting our attention to the girl. You can see she lifts up her leg, which she can do because she's leaning back against the bench. Compared to this guy earlier, you know, he's like sitting on his center of balance is like probably about here, so kind of on his leg. So he can't he has to lean back before, oh, and especially here he lean forward. So yeah, he's kind of on his legs. So he has to lean back before lifting this leg. This girl, she's leaned back against the bench, so that's kind of holding her up. Her center of balance is like pretty much over her butt, so she can kind of lift her leg freely. Once she lifts her leg, she places it down. Then she leans to give herself momentum. And then she pushes with this blurry ass hand on the left to kind of move over. Then after she lands, she shifts her weight back to being balanced. So she's off balance so she can move, and then she shifts back to being balanced when she's done moving. Looking back at the guy, He's leaning forward. And then he's pushing. This is maybe a little bit of a cheat. He's kind of pushing himself up over his knees. It's a little fraudulent, but I think the lean makes it, like having the lean here, it kind of makes it work. And that push up, you know, kind of makes it work. Again, he's gonna move forward here. So what does he do? He's kind of on his feet. He's gonna lean back, then he can lift his feet. Then he's gonna lean forward, super off balance here, and that gives momentum to come into here. Even though there's like a smear and it's cartoony, it still feels right because he's gaining momentum properly. Once he's here, he's kind of balanced here over this foot. He shifts his weight over and he kind of lets gravity kind of take him down. And then I think he does a little like weight shift in here, which is nice. Right at the, oh. Yeah, this is just, this slide forward is like kind of motivated by shooting his head forward. So he's kind of like exerting a force there. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The nice little like push-ups, weight shifts. It's like every time they, it's not just like this where they're like super upright and doing like this. It's like there's this nice like lean back, push, then like weight shift, and like there's a lot of like shifts happening, and you can very clearly see like the characters like moving by, you know, kind of getting off balance, pushing. So kind of combination of exerting force and leaning. Oh, this is just, I have no idea where I got this file. It's just saved. It's like some random like hand squat thing. But what I like about this is this ending. The way he comes in is like super nice. And this is kind of another factor where, so he's super off balance here, but he's holding something heavy. So then that actually makes his, if you combine his this and this, the center of all of this mass is actually about here. And then that kind of lies between the feet. So he actually is balanced here. So if you're holding something heavy, that's going to kind of affect your weight. So even in here, he's like leaning backwards while running, but it's because his center of balance is actually like here, only slightly behind, and he's trying to like stop himself, but he has to like really lean back to stop himself from running. Yeah, so this is just an interesting, like, you know, this heavy object is having an effect on the mechanics. And that's like too, if you're ever holding like a briefcase or like something heavy, you're gonna kind of like lean to the side. I don't have anything heavy here to like demonstrate that. Trust me, you'd be like kind of more over one leg, even though your balance would actually be kind of in the middle if you're holding something heavy. Let's see, got a couple more. This is a really cool test. I don't know if there's anything specific I wanted to show in here. I just wanted to show it. This is like just great. They basically did a test for Big Hero 6 where they just wondered like how would each character just come into this room and sit down, and they're like so specific. It's really cool. You really got to sense the characters. And I think, yeah, we can just take a look at like some of these movements. Like this little nudge forward. There's like a lean and then pulling the chair forward, which is cool. This is a little exaggerated, like the center of balance is actually, you know, on the back foot. So it's a bit of a cheat, but yeah, it kind of works. This is a good example, like as we're sticking out this foot, we're kind of shifting our balance to the right so we don't fall over. If you just stand upright and stick your foot out, you could potentially like kind of fall over. So just kind of counterbalancing there. I don't remember this one. Oh, this is another thing that's good to keep in mind. When you're placing your feet down, always like have your, so it can look really weird if you start going down on the same frame that your foot hits the ground. So if I'm like if my frame is here where I have foot in the air and body in the air, my next frame is never going to be like this, where like both are down. I'm going to do it with this, where the foot, so we have like a bent leg, then we have like a straight leg of the foot contacting the ground, and then the body will move down. So you get that feeling of like contact and like taking the weight. Yeah, I don't know what I wanted to show in here. This is just really good. There's nothing like crazy mechanics wise, but it's just, you know, very well done. It's just very like accurate. Like you can see, like if you just watch the hips, the foot places here, and then the hips, it's hard to see because it's coming like in space at us, but they're actually shifting towards us to that foot. Then when this foot places, they're shifting to the right. You can see that pretty clearly, like they're shifting to the right. And then back to this foot. We're off balance, we get caught by the chair. Yeah, just very well done. And then when he jumps up, I don't know if there's. Obviously, center of balance is here, way off his feet, so that's why he falls over. I mean, it's pretty obvious why he falls over, but just goes to show like the kind of rules always apply. Yeah, I had some other files, but I think that kind of don't want to bore you
And
guys.
for example, Jordan,
Oh yeah.
are they using the center of gravities to give the different characters different personalities? For example, some of them lean more to the back and some more to the front, and some move their center of gravity a lot more than others.
Yeah, totally. Like, let's take a look. Well, obviously we looked at this, so like Gogo had hers like kind of, you know, more leaned back. She's kind of leading with her hips, so her hips are like really far forward. See, the way they're getting around is like on this up position, she's kind of leaned forward, so she's really off balance here. And then she's kind of coming back. Oh, actually, yeah, I mean, that's basically how they're doing it. She's basically only leaned back on the positions where you would be balanced on the walk anyways. This like contact position and you know, down position. So yeah, and then as she kind of gets off balance again, she leans forward to like continue the momentum. So that's kind of how they got it to work. But yeah, totally. Like she's more back here, and then compared to someone, let's see. I mean, Wasabi's bigger, so like he has like slower, broader like weight shifts. Honey Lemon has an interesting look. she doesn't really shift her center of balance on this walk, but her hips kind of isolated go to the side here. You can also, but you can see how much rotation there is in her hips, which is why this feels really nice also. And then someone like Baymax obviously has a very unique, like, oh, they didn't have him walk in, but you can see that little shift. He leans to the left, places his foot, then he shifts to the right. It's so like mechanical that it's actually like a good breakdown of like the technicalities of a weight shift. In a good way, yeah, he does his little shifts. Yeah. I wouldn't say like center of balance is like a huge like character based thing. Yeah, like in a way, like there's certain things you can do, but I would say like what makes these unique is more just like the speed at which they move, the types of poses they're hitting, their mannerisms, the broadness. I would say like center of gravity is like, yeah, maybe one of the lesser important aspects. The center of gravity and like weight and, you know, balance and all this stuff I'm talking about is more just like rules of weight and gravity. So it's kind of like it's more, yeah, just rules. And like when you're making your character-based decisions, you want them to fit into these rules kind of thing. So in a way, yes, but also no. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, we can stop the examples there. How are you doing on time? Cool. We're halfway through the lecture. It's perfect. Cool. So that's enough mechanics for now. We're gonna be talking plenty more, but that just kind of sets like the ground rules for like just everything this course. Like every kind of thing kind of goes back to those concepts, and like no matter how complex the mechanics are, and even though it is very difficult to break down, it's still going to kind of follow those rules. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk about planning. We're going to be working on a shot. So we got to plan it. I already did some planning for it like before the class, but some of it I left to do during the class as like a demo. And yeah, I'm just going to talk about planning. Cool, planning. Experimenting in Maya is the absolute slowest way to work. So yeah, basically just when you're working with a rig, it just, yeah, I mean, you guys know it takes forever. It's a terrible place to try ideas. You still can. It's not that when you work in Maya, it should be set in stone. You know, you should always be willing to redo and do whatever is necessary to get the best shot. But it's not the place you want to be like, what if I did this? You know, you kind of want to, when you're going into Maya, you want to have a pretty good idea of what you're going to do. So planning as much as you can beforehand is essential. There are many ways to plan. So I'm going to showcase a bunch, but in the end, just whatever works for you, same as a workflow. You know, there's no right or wrong way to work. It's just whatever you can do to get the best results. Just find your calling. I don't know. Okay. And I'm going to show, I'm going to try and show a variety of workflows and methods for planning. And yeah, you can just do whatever. Okay, so just to go over a couple of ways of like planning, obviously video reference. Benefits are like very powerful for iterations. If I want to try out, like if I have a 10-second animation and I want to try out like 6 different versions, if I want to animate that, it would take like forever. If I want to try 6 different 10-second animations, it'll take me 60 seconds with video reference. So it's very, very powerful for trying out ideas fast. So yeah, you can get many ideas out quickly. And especially for this class, it gives you, one of the benefits is like a very strong reference for mechanics. So I don't know if I listed the downsides. Yeah, the downsides would be just like, you're relying on yourself and your ability to act, which is partly in your control, partly isn't. Like if you're animating, a character that's like not the same gender, you can try and act a certain way, but like your body can only move in certain ways. And yeah, it's just yeah, it just has some downfalls. Same thing with like something cartoony can be difficult to kind of act that out. But yeah, otherwise, very good, very strong, very good workflow. Thumbnails, like I use thumbnails all the time. This is kind of like the flip side of like the reference where you can draw anything. You're not really restricted. You can, go for really strong poses and not be limited by what you can act. You can like make sure your ideas are actually clear. And it helps kind of guide you towards a 2D aesthetic, which is like what we're trying to achieve with our CG, is to hide the rig and hide the computer and make it feel like a designed, 2D drawing. And yeah, you're also not constrained by the rig. Like sometimes when you're just working with the rig, you'll think you hit the limit, but sometimes at work, like we'll get drawovers from like 2D artists and they'll just draw like what they think it should look like and they don't care about the rig. And then you're like, oh, I can do that. And then you do it on the rig and you're like, you have to really like push the rig, but it can get you like something really designed. So primitives. This is like the primitives just mean like spheres, cubes, like whatever, just basic shapes. You can like path it out and like kind of do like a rough pass of it. I do this a lot. It's very good for like helping you plan out your path of action and your camera movement. So because they're like spheres and stuff, you get real-time playback no matter yeah, like it doesn't matter. Like sometimes you have rigs that work in real time anyways, so it's fine. But like if you're dealing with like a heavy rig, just planning this out beforehand and like it just lets you like play in your scene and just watch it and like make small adjustments, like constant adjustments, instead of having to like constantly play blast. And yeah, it's just very good for like it also just simplifies it because all you're worrying about is like I have this sphere that represents my character, and sometimes you have like just a static camera, sometimes a moving camera, but either way, it's just like you can figure out. Well, yeah, I should have just kept going. So very easy to make changes and watch back in real time. And yeah, it's like for timing and rhythm, it's like so good because you can just make these one frame adjustments and like make sure things are punchy and like feel out the rhythm and make it interesting. And then like writing too, is very freeing, like just writing down ideas, like brainstorming, writing down what your character is thinking, like what you want to accomplish in the shot, just writing like anything just kind of gets your mind going. And again, similar to video reference, like you can go through a ton, like I can just write down like I don't know, like we're gonna be doing the catching the bus kind of prompt for the demo, and I can just write down like he falls into a puddle and then think like, ah, it's not funny. Okay, he like runs into a pole, like, oh, okay, that's better. You can just write just anything and like yeah, it just gets your brain going and just lets you like keep track of stuff. Keep in mind. Okay. One other thing about, yeah, this is kind of tied into planning. Again, I didn't really know where to fit this in the slide, but I wanted to say this. When you're doing like mechanics, like try not to do like kind of like the first example I showed, where it's just like a character, like a generic block character doing parkour. Like try not to do that. Try to not have just something that's like I'm doing mechanics. And this is mainly for like demo reel, so I don't know if you're doing this at your job, like it doesn't really apply, but I think it's just something to keep in mind anyways. But like try and inject some sort of personality and like treat it as something that could be in a movie. And yeah, like sometimes I see animations online where it's like mechanics, like it's something that's actually animated really well, but it's not just for mechanics, it's kind of for anything. Like sometimes um you just see something where it's like technically done, like the animation is done really well, but there's kind of like no purpose to it, no like emotion, nothing really like, I don't know, they just kind of animated it as like, here's my assignment, and not like, this is my scene from a movie. So treating your animations as like things that have like, they're part of a bigger story. There's like characters that you don't have to like, doesn't have to be Citizen Kane, but like just have some personality basically. Like sometimes like I said, I watch, or like I have here, like sometimes I watch a thing and I'm like, that's cool. Like, even though it's animated like amazingly, I just think I guess that's cool because it doesn't make me, kind of feel anything. And especially like nowadays with, there's so many online schools, like there's so many people that can animate well, and that's kind of not enough anymore. You gotta like show something where it's like it incites some sort of reaction, and like, yeah, it doesn't have to be like a whole plot, but um just something where there's like a bit of personality, and you're actually animating a character that has a backstory, and you don't have to show the backstory, but just like animating with that intention, you can kind of feel that complexity when you watch it as a viewer. So just like a little side tangent. And a Big Hero 6 is like perfect. Like if I said animate someone sitting down in a chair, you could do someone just walking in and sitting down, and you could have like the most amazing weight shifts and center of balance, but like it would be interesting. And it's like, that just shows how many different ways you can do the same thing. And so the point, yeah, having something like that on your demo reel would be like, the point isn't to show like, look, I can do mechanics. It's like, here's a really interesting character doing something, and it just happens that I have these amazing mechanics that just work, and you're not even questioning it. So yeah, that's my little spiel. Okay, we're done with lecture for now. A little sneak peek of week 2. But yeah, I just talked for a while. Does anyone have any questions, or I'm just gonna keep going? Okay, I'll keep going. Oh yeah.
Sorry. So the curriculum wise, like, I was just curious even before that we started the class, like, where do we kind of follow this like oral curriculum where it's a planning, then we just kind of bring up our planning next week, or the golden poses?
So this is like purely a demo, like lecture class. So you guys can follow along, and if it's useful, like I can do like a little critiquing at the usually, like I've taught other classes at Animal Warriors, and the last class I usually kind of use as like a kind of freestyle, like, so like I did a polished class, and then for the last class, like I was demoing, and then for the last class I took like students' files and like polished them to show like applying the workflow from the class to like real examples and stuff like that. So yeah, I can like, if you guys have like assignments or like stuff that I can kind of review and like kind of apply what we've learned from the class to like those examples, I can do that in the last class. I kind of just usually do like whatever everyone thinks would be like the most useful, or what I would think would be the most useful. But there's no like homework, there's no assignments. Yeah, this is more just like showcasing my workflow process and stuff. So yeah, does that make sense? I can't see anyone's camera.
Oh, okay. Yeah, super
Okay.
clear.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk some more about planning. Let's see, what should I go? So I'll save reference for last because I did reference for this. Actually, no. I have an example. So this is, I'll play the final shots first. So this is like, very mechanics heavy. It's like characters like running around, jumping. So obviously like references like super useful. He actually had a mat and he like did it himself, which is cool, Like he didn't let the like, oh, this is too complex of a movement. Like I'm just gonna wing it. Like he actually, went for it, which is cool. But yeah. And again, just to kind of hone in the stuff from earlier, he's getting off balance here. His center balance is his feet. He's off balance and then he's pushing. So it's a combination of those, two movements. Anyways. Yeah, so like this is like really good, reference, like can really see the mechanics. Another tip is like when you're filming reference for mechanics, try and have a clear, like don't wear the same colored top and pants. Like try and be able to see the hips, the hip line like very clearly. That'll help a lot. But yeah, you can see he has that in his scene. So it's pretty cool. What was next? I can just go in the order. The next was like thumbnailing. These are from Victor Navone, who's a Pixar animator, and he just posts like his thumbnails on Flickr. I don't know why I don't know. I thought Flickr was like dead. It's like a old photo sharing website, but like apparently it's still alive and he posted there. So I feel like most people don't even know about it. I don't even know how I stumbled upon it, but um yeah, it was like a gold mine, honestly. You guys should check it out. But yeah, this is from Kitbull. So you can see he's like, it looks like these are separate, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like these are kind of separate ideas. So he's like planning different ways, the cat can like attack the bull or whatever. This is pretty cool. This I thought was interesting. So his thought process was like, okay, I'm gonna have like Dino swing the bat. But first, like, how would a regular character swing this bat? So he kind of drew that out. And then there's a second page in here that I don't have, but he basically like took these poses and like converted it to Dino. Be like, okay, so they're gonna like stand with their weight on this leg and then have the bat up, and it's like that's kind of what he's doing here. There's like slight shift back, and it's like, okay, then they're gonna lean forward and like I don't know. So just drawing like you can really like just do anything. So it's pretty cool. This is cool. This is like um for this character, like I think his name is Hank, from Finding Dory. It's like super complex rig, super complex character, like all these limbs. You don't want to, again, like you don't want to experiment in Maya and like figure that out. It's way easier to just draw the tentacle. So uh I'm sure most of them did like 2D passes. And that's what I do a lot for um kind of I'm trying to think of something I did recently. Um I don't know, but just any dangly thing, like anything that's going to be a pain to animate. I was just doing 2D first. Anyways, this isn't even planning. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but yeah, anyways, just planning out the tentacle positions like in 2D is just way easier. So I thought that was cool to show. And then I don't even know what this is from, but like these are just cool drawings. So you can see like there's really just cool poses. So he's just really not even thinking about the rig. He's just thinking about like his ideas and posing and stuff. So really cool. And then I like to do here. This is from Spider-Verse, one of my shots. I kind of just recreated like what I did, but like I recreated it at home because I don't have access to the file, but when I was doing the shot, I'll just play it first. When I was animating the shot, I wanted to have like really cool like rhythm and like I kind of studied like shots from the first Spider-Verse and a lot of these multi-character shots like I was just wondering like, oh, why do these feel like so cool? And a lot of it I found was like there's just a super like interesting rhythm with all the characters and like none of them moved at the same time or at the same speed. So yeah, for this, especially for mechanics, like I do these sphere passes a lot because I just get something and I can try and find the version of the file that was like without the characters. 1 second. Yeah. So like even without the characters, there's already like Spot comes up first and it's like Gwen, Miles, Pavitra like all come in kind of separately. And then like when there's hang time here, but then there's like another lone movement on Pavitra, then they all kind of fall like different times. So like just planning out kind of having them all move separately, different speeds, just makes things interesting. So I do this a lot. I don't know if I'll showcase it in the class, but let's see, because this is more for like big movements, like a lot happening on screen. But I might showcase it if you guys are curious. And then, oh, this is just like another thing I did, like a tutorial, but sometimes I'll take that, I'll kind of combine like thumbnails and sphere pass and I'll like yeah, I'll just like draw over the sphere. That's what I did for the Spider-Verse shot too. I like drew over the spheres. So then by the time I go to Maya, it's like my timing's figured out, my spacing's figured out, my poses are figured out. It's like now I just have to animate it following that, and I have like a super clear roadmap. So that usually works pretty smoothly for me. So with that being said, I already started planning the shot, but like I'm just gonna kind of finish up the planning. Oh, I also have this, which is like an old, like super old iAnimate assignment I did, which is like actually pretty similar to this is like catching the ice cream truck, but the goal is to make something better than this in this class. So yeah, it's pretty like it's kind of just like a walk cycle, and then he just starts running. So, and it's like all in the same line. So yeah, we're gonna try and beat this is the goal for the class. So I don't think I had anything else to say for that. I don't know why. All right, so let me show you guys what I was thinking. So yeah, the prompt is catching the bus. So I started like writing. Sorry, just catching the bus. So I knew I wanted like to make it interesting and to again like to contrast kind of like this where it's just like a guy walking and then he starts running. Like I kind of want something more interesting. So I knew I wanted like something with like some sort of scrambling, like frantic energy, like and then I also want like contrast. It's not just busy the whole time. So and like here I'm just like writing down ideas. I don't know what it's gonna mean or what it's gonna be, but it's just like getting thoughts down. So I know if I wanted to have like scrambling and frantic energy, I want some contrast. So it's not just, scrambling the whole time, which means it's gonna start off chill. Which means it's gonna be like waiting for the bus. Yeah, and I kind of wrote this later, but like if he's gonna start chill and then become frantic, it has to be like he has to be unexpected. Like he has to not realize at first that that was his bus. So that means that he was not paying attention in some way, because if he was just standing at the bus stop and the bus rolled up, he would be like, oh, like, shit, it's my bus. So there's got to be something like distracting him, or like him not paying attention, that causes him almost missing it, which will be make him frantic, like, etc. So I kind of wrote down like, oh, and I guess this is another idea, I guess, which is like he could be walking to the bus stop, which is like would make him late. Right. Oh, no, I was just thinking two options. I was just thinking like he could either be already there waiting for the bus, then the things that would distract him would be like he could be like listening to music, not paying attention, or he could just be like sitting on the bench, just like relaxed and not looking. Or if I want to do him like walking to the bus stop, then he could be like listening to music, could be like talking on his phone, or he could just be like walking and like just chill walking, like thinking he's like 10 minutes early, and then he's actually like the bus is already there or something. And then I was like, I really want to push like the chaos scrambling. So what could that mean? Like maybe he drops something, which would make it just more like chaotic. If he has to drop something and then go back for it, that's gonna make it like more chaotic. So I was thinking like, okay, like a backpack, a book, a hat. The backpack, I was like, oh, that'd be cool. And then I thought about the rigging of like straps, and I was like, no. So then I was like, hat or a book, and then I did reference, I just used like a hat. And then yeah, just like I'm thinking like when he starts running, like he should really like book it, like you can do something like exaggerated and just like really fast. And then for the ending, like a couple options. This is kind of talking about just like throwing out ideas. Like he could just run off screen to keep it simple. He could like not reach the bus, or he could like run to a pole. And then I just really probably depends. Like we'll see how fast the animation goes. If we're like if it's taking longer than I expect, then maybe I'll just have him run off screen, or if we have some extra time, like maybe I'll add like a little end button. So we'll see. That's kind of where I got to, just with like writing down ideas. Like I do this pretty often, especially with like a personal project where it's like you can really do anything, like no one's stopping you, there's no storyboards, there's no like directors, you can just really do anything. So I try and throw out as many ideas as I can to get the best one. But even like at work, I'll still do this to like get as many ideas as I can within the context of the shot. So that leads us to my reference, which is embarrassing, but here we are. So I just filmed like a bunch of takes. I'll go through like the ones that didn't work first. So I tried one. I tried one. What is this? I think I was just walking. That's not. We didn't use it. Okay, here we go. So this is like just walking, and then like, oh, there's the bus. Oh shit, and then go. And I was like, okay, that's boring. And then I tried like, okay, what if he's walking and then the bus is like going the other way? It's like, oh, and I go back where he came. Better, but like still kind of boring. So I was like, okay, what if he's like waiting for the bus? So just like here, like, oh, and he's like maybe looking the wrong way and he runs off. Also fine, like I thought this would be like, oh, we can do some like weight shifts and stuff, which are like hard. So it'd be good to like try that out, but a little boring. So then I think the best take, well, I was trying was like I'll just show this one. What I was trying was like I was like passed out on the bench, and then he like hears the bus. He's like, oh shit, this is my bus, and he like runs off. That one kind of has like the scrambling frantic energy I was looking for. And then I think this is like the best take, which is like wakes up, like what's going on? Okay, no, that was actually me just like adjusting. Not this. Like so, oh, what's going on? Oh shit. And then I like knocks the hat off. So I like obviously knocked my hat off like on purpose. So like we'll have to find a way to make it like accidental. But I thought this is fun of like sitting up and there's a little like sitting up, oh my hat, oh I gotta get the bus, and then like kind of moving in like multiple directions. And we can like push this in animation, kind of make it like more scrambly, more broad. And there's also like some interesting like weight shifts and mechanic stuff happening here, so I figured this would be like more interesting to demo. And then we can animate this guy walking when we're done. He's probably like, what the hell is this guy doing? Okay. Yeah, but you can see like I got through like a bunch of ideas really fast. So yeah, I use reference all the time. So yeah, what I was thinking was I got like half an hour left today. So I was just gonna kind of like do some more planning, like really figure out like what the shot is gonna be like. So then next week when we get into Maya, again, it's like really solid game plan. Some of the stuff I mentioned, like, oh, we have to figure out like how is this hat gonna come off? Like we're gonna push the scrambling, like what's that gonna look like? So yeah, I was gonna kind of just like work in here and like figure this out, just kind of showcase like my thought process. If there's time at the end after this, then I could either do like a quick sphere pass for like the energy and stuff. Or we could just do like Q&A if anyone has like random unrelated questions. We could do that too.
I have a small question.
Yeah.
For something like this, like would you animate every little detail of like the steps and with shift and everything, or would you like make the animation simpler?
Yeah, that's a good question. It honestly depends. Depends definitely on the show style. Something like Spider-Verse, like for not for like the swinging, but for the acting, they were very like they wanted there to be this like not rotoscoped, but like they wanted it to feel like grounded and like realistic in a way. So for something like that, the more kind of like subtle weight shifts and kind of little detail you can get in there was better. But now like Disney, it's a lot about simplifying and you still want like mechanics, but yeah, so I think it really depends. I think basically the more cartoony you'd get, the more I'd simplify it. So in this case, I'm gonna do something like I think mildly. I think I would probably like aim for Disney-ish style here. So like still grounded because I don't want to do it too cartoony where we're not actually like, focusing on the mechanics. Like I want to do like a really good mechanic showcase, but I also want to like, not just make it like too realistic. So yeah, for here I'll probably do like a balance of like we'll simplify some stuff. Well, I think a lot of it when I'm deciding like what to simplify is just like if it's if I'm simplifying, I'm just keeping like what's core to the movement. So like if I go in here, let's see. Honestly, like there's nothing too random and extraneous in here. It's usually like random like chest moves and like little like micro weight shifts. So like if like I'm standing and like sometimes I can go like then you'll like shift with one leg and then you do like a little like 2-foot adjust. So like something like that I'd maybe take out, or like if I like drop my arm and then my like I have like a little bit of swing and like residual movement. Sometimes I'll like simplify that to just be like a simple like overshoot settle, like things like that. So you can't really simplify the actual like core of the mechanics, because if you just take out the things that make it work, then your character is not going to be grounded. So the simplification usually comes in like, yeah, just taking out those extra little things, or like if like nothing specific, but I have something moving and it kind of like goes and then it like pauses and then goes again. Like maybe I'll just simplify that to like a smooth path of action. So like things like that. I don't know if that answers it. But...
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so let me take out, and again, if anyone has any like other questions, just hop in. Got my Wacom tablet and go full screen. Oh. It's working. And then maybe I'll just put a little. So I don't usually work like this. I'll usually like sketch on paper. That I couldn't really like show that, so I just thought I'd like just draw over the reference, which is good too, because you can kind of like push your poses. So like so the first thing to figure out is how this hat's going to come off. So it either has to get caught on something, or it has to be hit off by something that's like has to do with the mechanics of standing up, or some other like extraneous motion. So one thing I could do is like maybe he goes to like call the bus. He's like, hey, and he like sticks his arm out, and like that could cause it. That's one option. Or it could get like caught on the bench, but I don't really see how that could happen. I could also just do more of like a whoa, like arm scramble, and have it happen there. I just have to make sure it doesn't feel forced. Because right now I'm really just there and I just knock it off. So I just have to get rid of that feeling of like it's on purpose and like my arm's not even really scrambling. I don't really want to do anything with the other arm because it's pretty important for like these are my two balance points. So if I get rid of that arm to do a scramble, then the mechanics aren't going to work anymore. So I only have this arm to work with. And a one arm scramble is kind of weird. So I think my best bet is to do the like reaching, like, hey. So I gotta just find a way to make that work. Yeah, I think I'll probably just keep it like the same here. And then I'll like I'm gonna kind of like cartoonify it a bit already, but like I'll pull it, like I'll hold back on the spacing. And then in like 2 frames, I'm gonna like whatever. Doesn't really work in like world space, but it's fine, we'll figure that out later. I'm gonna like stick the arm out like, really fast. And then as that hits out, the hat will get like knocked up. I'll make it clear it's on the head here. And then I'm gonna kind of like hold this pose more, like get it clear that the arm is like reaching up. And I'm also gonna like keep the eye direction. Like looking, right now I'm like looking down because I'm kind of like flinching. But I'm kind of like gonna keep the eye direction like this way. I don't know. I don't really want to cover the eye, but like I probably don't have a choice. Anyways, we can figure that out with the rig. This is kind of just the idea. I think this will work. Should probably turn on onion skin here. This arm's gonna be like super jiggly. Yeah. I'm not really like the best drawer, but I can just use it to get my ideas out there. So then this hat's gonna kind of do like a hang time. This. And then maybe like 4 frames later, this arm can like start to come down like this. And we're still like, hey. And then yeah, this hat can be like falling down. And then maybe it's like here by now. I'm just kind of randomly like guessing. And then by here, I can kind of like return to like my reference. So let's see how this looks. Yeah, I think that'll work. Oh, let me turn off the. Yeah. I'll probably push that timing with the hat. It's like a little even, but that's easy to do. I also need to get a 3D model of a hat. I have like the bench and character and stuff, but I forgot the hat. So I'll get that for next week. Yeah, I think that'll work. Cool. And then the other thing is like maybe pushing this like scramble. Usually for like the scramble, it's all about getting like stuff happening with the limbs. So if there's any like craziness, like this arm's already kind of like swinging out. Let me just rid of that. So this arm's already like swinging out. This arm's not really doing much. So maybe we can do like so this arm like swings out. And this one can like kind of come up like foreshortened. And then like maybe like we'll come like here. And I don't know, like kind of windmill. Maybe I can grab the hat with like 2 hands too. Or actually probably not. Let's just do the one hand. Or like we'll kind of reach for it with 2 hands, but like only grab it with one. I don't know. I got like this little windmill action. Maybe it'll work. Then I'll like swing back. All right, let's see if that works. Yeah, it's better. It's not super cartoony though. Maybe this arm needs to do like something else also. And swing back. Maybe this one can like come up too. So I got like it's a little bit random, but like it's kind of more chaotic. I might have to like step a little bit away from the reference. Maybe I'm following it too close. Maybe like if I drew a pose on its own, like going from here, I feel like I could see it being like kind of like looking over here. And then I like the kind of like force going this way. So maybe it's like having the scramble like be happening like over here before like coming back. So maybe I'll try that. So then here. I'm not being too accurate with like um these arms. Obviously there's like just kind of rough shapes, but it's just getting like the feeling. So just go like this. Wait. Do. Maybe like this arm can do something weird on this frame, like, or we get like a big anticipation where it's like, do like a bit of a smear, like, then grab it. I don't know. We'll see how that looks. Yeah, like experimenting like this, you know, is so much faster than animating it. Already in like 10 minutes here, you know, I've tried like 3 versions. So let's see how this looks. I think that's better. I think it could actually be like, I think it's still too slow. So I could try another version of this. Is this helpful? Like I can keep going with this. I just, if there's other like aspects of planning you guys want to see, or if you have any questions, like I could do this. Not just making you sit here, watch this, unless it's helpful. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I feel that it's helpful.
Okay, cool. I can keep going.
Yeah, me too.
I could also like answer questions while I'm doing this. If anyone wants to.
Do you usually take a lot of time doing this while in production, or?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I just when I go into Maya, I want to have like a super clear idea. So yeah, for something like this, I've actually never done this, like drawing over my reference, so maybe I'd actually like start using this. Usually I'd just be, if I wanted to go cartoonier, I'd probably just like draw it from blank, like instead of drawing over the reference. But I think for this case, it actually works because I want to maintain the mechanics while just adding a bit of like scrappiness to it. So I think this is actually like a good workflow. But yeah, I don't like, I've never just opened a scene and like started animating. I'm like, I don't always do reference, but I always like either like for the Spider-Verse shots, it was like the ball and the sketches. And then, you know, for an acting shot, it's like pretty much always reference. And then like I don't always even bring the reference into my scene, but just to like have it and like try out some ideas. Like, yeah, I definitely spend time like planning. And like it depends where you work, but like at least for us, they account for that. Like usually in feature, they account for like time planning. But you could easily like if you have like a 5-day bid shot, you could if you spent like 2 days planning, that wouldn't necessarily be like a bad thing. It might be excessive, but it could actually be faster to spend that long planning and then just going, you know. Yeah. But definitely like this is kind of the thing I would do.
Or like complex scenes, like if it's like more like the camera driven, it's more like the into camera, like you have to act to the camera, like especially you have to the body mechanics towards the camera, which is kind of getting complex. In that case, it's only like you do it through drawing. In that case, if like the mechanics very like kind of complex that you kind of have to know how the hips work, how the shoulders work, like in that case you still like figure out with the drawings and stuff in that case. I'm not sure if the question makes sense.
Do you like, I guess it depends because if it's like a very complex, are you talking about like a complex like parkour animation that I couldn't like act out myself, for example?
Yeah, kind of that, or like something as Spider-Verse, like something like that's like a normal human can't do. Like it's like usually you have to kind of find reference, you kind of stitch them together kind of level, right?
Yeah, so Spider-Verse, like it's weird because the acting scenes were honestly like more mechanics driven than the actual like swinging because the swing was like very stylized. So I actually didn't use any video reference for the Spider-Man stuff, but I did pay like as much attention as I could to the mechanics and like because I wasn't working with the reference, I was like making sure like, you know, when they're swinging, you like you feel the weight and like there's like a I don't know. There yeah, just the mechanics of like how it all works. When they're like pulling on a web, like getting that having that like project them forward. So yeah, I think like again, it kind of depends on like show style. So for Spider-Verse, the action was so stylized that oops, yeah, it was so stylized that it didn't you couldn't really use like any video reference. But sometimes, yeah, for something like I can't do, but it's more realistic, I will kind of like stitch things together. But yeah, sometimes you just can't use reference, and then you gotta rely on your knowledge. But yeah, it's hard. Like I had a shot on the sea beast where they like fell into water, and I did like 10 passes, and they were just like, yeah, that doesn't look right. And I was like, oh my God, I kept like stitching together like different references until eventually I was just like, I have no idea. Like swimming, body mechanics like on land is hard enough, and then there's like swimming. I was like, I have no idea like what makes swimming work and stuff. And so I just like literally at one point I got so fed up that I just like put a phone in a Ziploc bag, put it underwater, and then just jumped in and like acted out the shot. And then I did a pass, and then they were like, yeah, that looks good. And I was like, okay. But it took, so sometimes like you just need a reference because it's just like very complex. So, but I think I also had like a worse kind of understanding of mechanics at that time. I wasn't like, I just knew it. I didn't, now I know kind of like the things I kind of mentioned to look for when it's not working. I'm like, okay, what's driving them? Like what's this? Like, and having things move like separately. Like it's bad if for the swimming, if they're like, if you do this and they move like at the same time, like that looks bad. You need to like push first and then your body will react. So also like we'll kind of get into that as like I'm animating the shot, but I don't know if there's like an example of that in here, but like just like things moving at like different times. I don't know what a good example is. I mean, even just these feet, like it's like this one's planted and then this one plants and then wait, hello? Did I cut
Hello?
out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I think I accidentally stopped the recording while I was like or stopped the call while I was okay, I don't know what I did. How long did I come for? Like 10 seconds?
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, less than a second.
Okay, okay.
Actually.
Okay, my bad. Let me show this again. Uh yeah. Um oh, I was just saying, yeah, like the feet, um like this left foot's stuck and now the right foot's moving and then this right one plants and then this left one starts moving. So like just being specific about like when you're moving things and stuff. Uh yeah, we'll get into that. Anyways, I gotta let's see, a couple minutes left. I don't know, let me just do something random and weird and then see what happens. Or maybe this one can like break the silhouette and the hand can come like over the head. This can actually be like here. I'm just gonna draw like forms at this point rather than limbs, just to get like the feeling of it. Just here by now. Like add a frame too. Here's something, I don't know. I'm just trying to add like random scramble energy. Like, I don't know, let's try this. Okay, we can fine tune that later. But like, actually, something I also do, and I'll probably have to do this next week. I'll like retime my reference, especially for something like a little pushed and a little cartoonier. Because this is like a little too slow, even. Yeah, and then like I'll probably like push this pose 2, like probably get like something like that. Push how far back the head is. It'd probably be funny if like you can like barely see the head, and then it just like oops. The next frame it just like converges. He's like, oh, what's going on? And it just like comes up. I don't know. We'll see. That could be funny. And then yeah, kind of do the scrambling stuff, and then yeah, I'm really gonna like push the run. So that means like probably like leaning it more forward. And then pushing the speed. It's not awful right now, but like I really want to push this run. So we'll do that stuff too. But yeah. We'll start on the golden poses next week. And then we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna be starting with a bit of like a reference like workflow. And then kind of for like the scrambly part and like the ending, I can do more of like a not reference workflow, like 2D workflow or something. Yeah, I think that's about it for this class. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Cool.
Sounds good.
So yeah, today was a lot of like lecture talking information. It'll be more like demo focused as the class goes on. But yeah, hopefully this all makes sense. Yeah. Any final questions, concerns? I don't know, anything before we wrap up?
I'm good.
Cool. All right. Well then, yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Jordan.
Awesome.
Take care. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.